This man may be digging his own grave. Shared by YouTuber Kiza Kehidupan, this video is trending in the Indonesian-speaking YouTube community. I was unable to track down the original source of the video. The man is actually digging for a garbage dump when he hears something. And then, what he sees terrifies him. A face is staring up at him. The face looks like a mask to me, but it's still incredibly creepy. And as startled as the man is, it somehow makes me think that he could be digging his own grave. Because that would give anyone a heart attack. What would you do if you ran something over in the night? Shared by TikToker Zeniager, this video will answer that question. While driving a big rig, Matt, the rig operator, is filming the moon to show his kids when he appears to run over something. And it might be a body?
Really big. Anyway, it's pretty cool.
It really looks like he drove over a hump. But when he gets out to check, did you see it?
No.
After glancing back multiple times, Matt looks again, and a male figure is standing in the middle of the road, out of nowhere. It's clear from the comments that many didn't see the guy standing there, but they're still weirded out by the bump in the road. Those who did spot the male figure are even more frightened. I would be putting a pedal to the metal, because whatever that figure is, it isn't of the living. Imagine trying to do a normal household chore when this happens.
What do you want?
This is what it's like to take out the trash for TikToker, Smug Puppy.
What do you want?
The entities that haunt their home obviously want something. But what? Who knows? I think they just want to provoke fear. And they do, even after she gets inside. Even the dog is afraid. Many in the comments would be done with chores after this, while some are wondering if the neighbors also experience paranormal activity.
What do you want?
While I'm used to seeing playful shadow figures from this TikToker, this entity is no shadow. And it looks far more evil. Holton Avenue is a notoriously creepy abandoned street in Cleveland, Ohio. In 1913, the first Hungarian Baptist church was built on that street, eventually falling into disuse and being left abandoned like the rest of the buildings on that street. In April 2016, the body of a woman named Jessica Coleman was found there after she went missing, but unfortunately, her attacker was never found until July 2023. Chris Hill went to the location to record footage of the abandoned church, as well as the rest of the buildings on Holton Avenue, from disturbing graffiti to broken glass and peeling walls. The church checks every box you would expect from a creepy abandoned building as he ventures into the basement. Chris finds signs that someone else had been inside the church, including an action figure of Melvin the giraffe from Madagascar that he mentions he doesn't remember seeing the last time he visited the location, knowing that he's often not alone during his explorations. Chris set up several cameras throughout the church, and about 10 minutes into the exploration, one of the cameras on the main floor captured something pretty creepy. Obviously, doors don't just randomly shut themselves, and as it wasn't particularly windy that night, it's clear that someone was in the church with Chris, but after looking around for a bit, he can't find anyone in the church and decides to head back outside to explore the rest of the buildings on Holton Avenue. If the church is in a messed up state, some of the houses are even worse, with most of them looking like they could collapse at any second. Around half an hour into the visit, he decides to explore one of the most dilapidated houses, which is on the block, and as he's in the basement, the exploration takes a scary turn.
Really a basement? Still creepy. Sorry. I didn't know nobody lived there. It smelled like I knew somebody was in there.
As he's exploring the basement, a sound can be heard coming from the ground floor. And when he goes back up to find out what it is, a person pulls back the curtain, immediately apologizing. Chris runs back out to the street, and that's when he realizes that despite the horrible state of the supposedly abandoned house, there was actually someone living there with electricity. Clearly, most, if not all, of the abandoned buildings on the block were housing people now who didn't want him there, something he never encountered on his first visit, and with this newfound discovery, Chris called it a night in February 2020. Urban Explorer. Rhythm Rider explored an abandoned house at an undisclosed location with his exploration partner, Z. Clark. According to Rhythm, the house used to belong to an old woman who had passed away. In contrast to most abandoned houses, most of the woman's possessions have been left untouched, indicating that the house has not yet fallen prey to looters and squatters who often take things that aren't theirs all throughout the house. The two explorers find everything from beautiful tableware and silverware to ornately woven tapestries and a fully equipped bar based on the calendars they found in the house. The property hadn't been occupied since August 2018. Just a few minutes into the visit, Ram and Z find something incredibly sad and disturbing. I've always been worried about something like this happening, and then it did when we walked in here. We took a few steps in the door, and we saw this on the ground now. For those who can't figure out what that is a body stain, and you can see right there, there's a walker. So unfortunately, it seems that the woman who had lived here had taken a bad fall, landed on the floor. And that's where she expired, unfortunately. It's extremely sad to us. It took us a good 20 minutes to decide what we're going to do here, and despite it feeling weird, we figured we still need to tell the story, because this is a good reminder to everybody that you need to check on your loved ones. It seemed this woman had passed and was laying here for God knows how long before she was found, so check in on your loved ones, guys. Right in the middle of the hallway, a human body stain can be seen on the floor next to a walker, indicating that the old woman probably had a bad fall and couldn't get up. Sadly, she passed away and her body decomposed before anyone could save her, which is a terrifying way to die. There appear to be signs that the woman's family members tried to sort through her things after she passed away, but overall, her various belongings are in perfectly good shape, including her bathroom supplies, which were still there at the time of the recording. It's hard to watch the footage without having conflicting feelings. Even though the house is beautiful, and you can easily tell that the woman who lived there with her husband was a talented, outgoing person. It's incredibly sad to see how she met her end. Overall, the footage should serve as a reminder to check in on your loved ones every time you get the chance, because nobody deserves to pass away like that. Since 2020 RM with Ryder hasn't gone back to that location. In 2006, a 36-year-old man named Vincent Filia was living in the woods as a fugitive near Luga, South Carolina, after being accused of abusing his stepdaughter. In September of that same year, he saw a 14-year-old girl named Elizabeth Shea getting off the school bus and decided to abduct her, posing as a police officer. Fila arrested Shea on a supposed marijuana charge and led her to his hideout in the middle of the woods for 10 days. Elizabeth was chained up and abused by Fila in the underground bunker beneath the hideout in what can only be described as a nightmare come true. Still, the girl was extremely resilient throughout the whole ordeal and came up with a plan to escape from the horrifying situation she found herself in. If she wanted to escape, Elizabeth knew that she had to get Vincent to like her. For several days she pretended to be in love with Filia, and eventually the kidnapper lowered his guard, even unchaining her and allowing her to play games on his phone. One night, while Vincent was sleeping, the teenager got a hold of his phone and sent a text to her mom saying she was in a hole across Charm Hill and that there was a bomb and to call the police. As it was later revealed, Filia had planned to draw in as many people as possible to the bunker to detonate a bomb and take the lives of the responding officers. However, he never managed to carry out his plan. Just a few minutes later, the area was surrounded by helicopters, and he was forced to surrender. Elizabeth was able to move on with her life, and the monster named Vincent Filia spent the rest of his life in prison, where he died in 2021 in his cell. In December 2023, a YouTuber named Big Banks visited the abandoned hideout where the terrifying crime took place. Upon entering the house, the uploader finds something extremely disturbing.
Knowing that happened.
I think this was the little girl's backpack that was left here. What a sad sight to see knowing that happened. A little girl's backpack can be seen on the floor outside the kitchen, although it's impossible to confirm if it belonged to Elizabeth Shea. It is possible that it was planted there after the crime by somebody else as he explored the living room. The uploader finds more creepy stuff, including a DVD of the horror movie The Strangers and a Halloween decoration next to one of the couches. A shank, a broken baseball, and a ripstick. Obviously, the fact that these items were left behind is much more disturbing. When you consider the history of the house, it's heartbreaking to imagine that some of the toys lying around the floor possibly belonged to the girl that Vincent Fila had stolen throughout the rest of the house. Several objects and pieces of furniture, including the bed in the main room, looked like they were placed there much later than 2006. It's possible that the house was occupied by squatters, but because it was empty at the time the footage was shot, it's impossible to know what belonged to Filia, his common-law family, his victim, and the squatters. Wrigley Hospital was a women's psychiatric hospital in Lancaster, UK, that operated for almost 100 years, from 1916 to 2013. It was famous for being one of the first psychiatric hospitals in the UK that fought for the humane treatment of mentally ill patients. Ridley Hospital houses thousands of patients and uses modern treatment methods such as electroconvulsion therapy to help patients with a range of disorders, from severe depression to obsession to mania. In April 2022, YouTuber Exploring with Tom visited the site with 3 of his friends in the middle of the night. Throughout their visit, they were extremely loud and not aware of their surroundings, which is obviously not the best idea. Say, when exploring an abandoned building, keep in mind that most of these buildings are still considered government property, which makes it illegal to trespass and explore the grounds. If you disturb a hostile squatter's home by being obnoxiously loud, getting arrested would probably be the least of your worries.
Oh yeah, well I am scared of you.
I think someone is here now, to be honest with you.
After hearing some strange noises coming from one of the rooms, the 4 explorers call out to see if there's no one in the building, and this is where things get a little disturbing.
What?
There's someone there. Someone there. She's like, you see what it is? It might be. You might need help.
Hello? Hello? What? Go! 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 Yo! Come! Yo! Everyone okay? Everyone okay? Keep calm. Keep calm. Keep calm. Man! What the f***? Don't hurry up! Get out! Get out! Get out! What do you want? He's right there! He's right there! What the Yo!
As soon as one of the teenagers calls out, a man can be heard screaming from inside the room without thinking twice. Tom and his friends make a run for it back to their car, but disturbingly, the man isn't satisfied with just scaring them out of the building and ends up chasing them all the way to their car. It's unknown who the man was or what he wanted from them, but one of the theories that's been echoing in the comments is that he was probably a homeless person who got upset at the amount of noise Tom and his friends were making. It's unknown who the man was or what he wanted from them,